What if I told you there's an Air Force Special Operations job that's so brutal, you actually have better odds of becoming a Navy SEAL or a Green Beret than making it through this pipeline? I'm talking about the Air Force Combat Controller, otherwise known as the CCT or the JTAC. JTAC is a billet within the CCT. I'll explain the math in this video on why the odds are better to become a SEAL or an Army SF, what the role entails, and one of the most heroic Medal of Honor recipients, John Chapman, who is an Air Force Combat Controller. If you ever meet someone wearing the scarlet beret with wings, you are looking at one of the rarest warriors on Earth. These are the people who can call in an airstrike with surgical precision while bullets are cracking overhead. So let's talk about the brutal reality of getting into this job field. Do you think you could handle it? Let's see what the pipeline actually looks like. The initial physical standards are tough, but far from impossible for an individual who's in shape. You have to swim 500 meters in under 12 minutes and 30 seconds. There's a minimum of 8 pull-ups required, but if you want to remain competitive, you need to do at least 15. You need to complete a 25-meter underwater swim. You need to run 1.5 miles in under 10 minutes and 30 seconds. Good, you passed that. Most young 18-year-olds can. Now you can start the real training. The pipeline stretches for more than 2 years. After basic training, you'll hit 7 weeks of the Special Warfare Candidate course, 4 weeks of assessment and selection, and this is where most people quit. Then over 3 months at the Combat Control Operator course. From there, it's Air Traffic Control School, Combat Control School, Military Free Fall, Combat Diver, and finally 12 months of advanced skill training. All told, it's more than 2 years of some of the hardest training the U.S. military has to offer. Now, I've seen some people equate this to the grunt of the Air Force, and not to insult our grunts here, but completing SOI is not at all the equivalent. 90% will never make it through this pipeline. 9 out of 10 candidates get crushed by it. And it's not just because the training is brutal, it's because combat controllers don't get second chances. Imagine, you're embedded with Rangers under fire, there's helicopters inbound, and you're on the radio. You need to guide that helicopter in, coordinate the fight on the ground, and call in an airstrike all at once. We're talking about 4D chess on the battlefield. One bad call and the helicopter goes down, another bad call, your own team gets hit. That's the weight every combat controller carries. So let's picture this. You're a combat controller. After parachuting into hostile territory, you set up air traffic control in the middle of chaos. You then coordinate helicopter landings while under fire, and if the battle turns desperate, you're the one who's going to be directing an A-10 strike so close that it rattles your teeth. Few roles carry this much responsibility in one day. And here's the crazy part. There are only 10 Special Tactics Squadrons on the planet, and the tip of the spear, the 24th Special Tactics Squadron. That's the Air Force's JSOC unit. These are the guys who run with Delta and SEAL Team 6 on missions that you'll never read about. Now, review the math with me to my statement on it's easier to become a SEAL or Green Beret versus a combat controller. Navy SEAL training is legendary for breaking people, and for good reason. About 2 out of every 3 guys who show up for buds never make it. That's roughly 75% washout. That's brutal. Green Berets, around 75% of enlisted candidates don't survive the pipeline. Now let's talk about combat controllers. Depending on the year, attrition runs anywhere from 75% all the way up to 95%. 9 out of 10 do not make it to the end. So yes, the comparison sounds jarring, but the stats just don't lie. A young kid chasing the dream of actually becoming a member of the SF community has a better shot at becoming a Navy SEAL or a Green Beret than earning the Scarlet Beret. Now let's talk about John Chapman, a combat controller who became the living definition of the motto, first there. During a rescue mission, his SEAL team was ambushed, heavy fire poured down. The team was forced to retreat, leaving Chapman behind, and he was assumed dead after taking multiple hits while charging a fortified enemy bunker. But here's the thing, John Chapman wasn't dead. Bleeding, shot, and alone, he got back up. And for over an hour, he fought by himself against overwhelming odds. He killed enemy fighters, directed airstrikes dangerously close to his own position, and held the line on that mountain so a quick reaction force helicopter could land and rescue that SEAL team. Chapman fought until his last breath. For his actions, he became the first airman since Vietnam to receive the Medal of Honor and the first combat controller ever to receive the nation's highest award for valor. John Chapman lived and died by the combat controller creed. He was the first there, and he was the last to leave. Combat controllers often go completely unrepresented and unknown. They're the invisible enablers who make complex operations possible. When you see footage of special operations rescues, precision airstrikes, or helicopter insertions in hostile territory, there's probably a combat controller somewhere in the background making all of that happen. Could you handle 2 years of this training knowing that 9 out of 10 people won't make it? Let me know in the comments what other elite military jobs you want me to cover next, and if you found this valuable, smash that subscribe button. And we're just getting started with these deep dives into jobs that keep America safe. So if you have any ideas, like I said, please share them with me.